Hey traders, checking in on the cryptocurrency space. So we are recovering from the big dump. We've been trading sideways over the last couple of days. A battle has been raging and it doesn't look like it because it's within a contained range. But the next week in the direction that we go, there's two very different scenarios which could play out. So we'll look at the bull case and we'll look at the bear case and what each side needs to see as far as keeping control from this shakeup event. All right, so in the last video, we were anticipating that we're likely going to trade within the Bitcoin range of that daily candle for quite some time. But if I'm going to keep that opinion, I need a bull break of these inside bars right now. And this is the sideways range that I was talking about. And if you pull up the 12-hour time frame, you can see that we just set a little higher low and had a bull move take place. But there is still a bunch of resistance here. The first being the high of yesterday. So 47.4 thousand is a key resistance level, and if we can't get over that, then we're not going to break the inside bars bullish. We had bulls just make a nice move where it was a bear break straight into a V-shaped recovery, which is a good sign. But again, I need a break at that daily resistance level. Ideal scenario here with the first bull cross of the EMA 12 and 26 would be an hourly bull flag holding that EMA cross on any consolidation and breaking 47.4 thousand. From there, I'm looking at 47.6, and the high of the initial bounce was 47.9. So a few resistance levels in the 47s that we still have to be watching, and if we break them bull, we know on the daily time frame here, we're going to zoom out and scout a daily lower high to be the most likely result of this bounce because there's a lot of space and retracement sizes. So again, I put out that video last weekend about fib retracements on our YouTube channel. Check it out if you didn't see it, but it's going to help us gauge what is the most likely scenario here on this bounce. And I just did this backwards, but same idea here. Is it going to be a 50% plus bounce that creates the space for a daily higher low to form once we top out? Or is it going to be a weak bounce that can't get to a 50% retracement that favors the potential for continuation? And what I'm watching right now on Bitcoin is very similar to the last top that we hit. So we had the all-time high, we had a pretty decent pullback here that lost the uptrend. Then we bounced to the lower high and rolled over. So what that would look like on the daily if the same action were to happen, here's the loss of the daily uptrend on the big pullback. If we bounce to the lower high and confirm a daily downtrend, then we're going to see a potential monthly lower high shaping up. That has to happen for a monthly lower high to be shaping up. So that's going to be key. The lows that we are putting in here are very important. And we've talked about this in the past, but on the 5-minute time frame. And on the 5-minute time frame, what we've talked about is how we've been in a bull move on the way up, and the only defense that the bears have are just market selling. And then we see that flush of market selling, and then that's the low that is set, and we just slowly climb our way back up. And it tells us it's a red flag if we flush and set that low, climb our way back up, and then break that low. It's the same thing on this daily chart, just a much different and longer time frame. But the low of this flush for every individual coin is very key for short-term action. And looking at Bitcoin on the weekly perspective, again, going to our fib retracements, at this point in time, you could make the argument that it's a bull flag. The retracement was about 42, 45% or so, and that's putting it in our gray zone. And the gray zone is where we could see continuation. So that low is very important. If we break these inside bars bear, it's definitely a red flag for me. We have to break them bull to get to the 50% retracement to create the space for a daily higher low to form once we top out. The good news for the cryptocurrency space bulls overall is that the dominance chart is dropping to a lower low. Why is that good news? Because it shows confidence of people to put money back in altcoins. So big flush. And again, when there's fear, people take money out of these smaller altcoins, and that's why Bitcoin doesn't drop as significantly. There's a faster race to the exit. There's less liquidity in a lot of these altcoins. But in this scenario, because we drop to the lower low, that shows us money continuing to go into the altcoins as they bounce more significantly than Bitcoin once that bottom was hit. So on the BTC pairings that we're looking at, just looking at Ethereum as an example, I'm going to be keeping an eye out for BTC pairings setting daily lower highs to potentially mark US dollar pairing daily lower highs shaping up. Because again, what would be a scenario that ETH BTC sets a daily lower high? It would be the cryptocurrency space setting a top of the bounce, and consolidating, and the altcoins, specifically ETH, pulling back faster than Bitcoin once that top of the bounce is hit. So that's something I'm watching very closely, but the bounce retracement on ETH BTC is already over 50%, which is a good sign for bulls, just in terms of creating the space for a daily higher low to form once we do top out. We're watching the 4-hour uptrend as a guide here, and it looks like we just had a little bull flag that saw 0 follow through, so getting a little bit choppy. Our good friend, the old megaphone, appears to be shaping up here. So keeping an eye on that. Had a nice little equilibrium break bull. But again, overall, anticipating a daily lower high as the most likely scenario and watching for a daily equilibrium to be the most likely scenario into next week. ETH USD, inside bar, bull break was 35.63. We broke it by $5. That's pretty much a double top. And we know we have to see Big Daddy Bitcoin leading the way if we're going to have confidence in that. And as far as the bounce retracement, again, if you're comparing who's stronger, who's weaker on these altcoins, you can, number one, gauge the retracement of the US dollar pairings. And number two, you can look at the BTC pairings of the coins. And we'll see here that Sol and FTT are easily lead bulls because of what their BTC pairings are doing. So we're scouting a daily lower high on Ethereum. We have already retraced over 50%. And at this point, for me personally, I have added back the position. So on the flush on ETH USD, I traded it. I day traded it. I locked in the majority of my gains. But I did add back all my monthly higher low swing positions. So if you remember, if you've been following along, I had my monthly higher low positions established down in the 1700s of Ethereum and down under 30,000 on Bitcoin. And I sold half of my Bitcoin in the upper 40s. And I sold a third of my Ethereum, I forget where. But I added that third of my Ethereum back, and it's got an average, because I sold a little bit, it's got an average down in the 33s somewhere. And I added back Bitcoin yesterday. Again, I forget exactly where. It doesn't really matter a whole lot to me on these swing positions, because again, for me, it's just if I rebuy it lower than where I sold it, it's a win, because I'm making these bigger picture plays based on the monthly timeframes. And I believe I added it back somewhere in the mid 45s, perhaps. So back in my full monthly swing positions, but again, keeping a whole bunch of cash for opportunities like the ones that presented itself 2 days ago. And I will be cautious of monthly consolidation. And I do have stop losses in play. So the stop losses for my Bitcoin swing position are down here under 44.4. Just to be a bit protective, because I don't want to hold my full swing positions if we do see monthly lower highs and monthly equilibrium shaping up. So Sol USDT, congrats to the bulls. Again, this is just the raging bull and the bounce of a 50% move. And then we set a 4-hour higher low and ran to new all-time highs. Now we have a 4-hour higher low forming. Again, the back burner trades are still money. First 5-minute oversold conditions. Granted, we did get to first 5-minute oversold conditions up here around, right around 200. You can see that's where it dipped, and then we had another leg down. But in the end, whether you entered at 200 or entered a little bit lower, we ended up bouncing, 7% plus. So a very forgiving bounce, pretty much no matter where you scaled in. And now we got a tightening equilibrium on the 15-minute. We got our low, high, higher low. Anything under 208.44 is a lower high. And we'll watch to see the direction that 15-minute equilibrium breaks. If it breaks bull, our 4-hour higher low is likely set. And if it breaks bear, we're going to test the EMA 12 because it has not been set yet. SOL BTC, upper wick forming. But obviously, again, most altcoins right now look like Ethereum, and here's ADA, just as an example. They're bouncing. They're a more convincing bounce than the US dollar pairings on many names, but we are scouting daily lower highs on the vast majority of them. So names that are already at highs, again, clearly standing out. And I've got my list of the 15 altcoins that I watch most frequently. And just right before this video, just to make sure, I want to know who's strongest, I went through every single BTC pairing and I just looked at their daily chart. And it was very clear that FTT and Sol BTC in daily breakouts are easily the strongest major altcoins right now. So we're watching the correlation, and we're still in a spotlight correlation as far as the US dollar pairing of SOL and the BTC pairing doing the same thing, both looking for a 4-hour high or low. We'll watch for clues if the BTC pairing shows weakness before the US dollar pairing, but it's not at this point in time. Inside bars broke bear. Same for SOL BTC. But still a clear 4-hour uptrend. And FTT USDT, new all-time high. Again, V-shaped recovery. Took a little longer to play out, but 4-hour higher lows are our guide. Looks like we just set another one, 73.17. Certainly not for the faint of heart. This volatility is massive. We had a 5-minute drop, a couple percent bounce, but then another more extreme drop. And you can just see going from 73 to 85. I mean, that is almost a 20% move, more like a 15% move. Right in the middle, 17. So just tons of volatility in this name. But a new all-time high. And we'll be watching for, this looks like a megaphone as well. But we're going to be watching for an hourly or a 4-hour high or low. Or really short term, we're watching for a 15-minute high or low. But again, these coins see the best bounces. And again, bigger picture, even if you're not making any money on these two lead bulls, you want to see as many coins as possible at all-time highs. Any coin that's hitting an all-time high is just an uptick in points favoring bulls in the cryptocurrency space, keeping bulls confident. You want to keep bulls confident and satisfied. And if you're getting all-time highs, that is occurring. We want to convince bulls, keep your money in the cryptocurrency space. And price action like this does it. ADA USDT, just want to give an example of, again, coins that are a little bit weaker, but the majority of coins are doing this. Inside bar bull break, but anything under 310 is a lower high on the daily. So we are anticipating a daily lower high as the most likely scenario. We're measuring our retracement size, the bounce at this point, over 50%. So once we do top out, and again, if I don't have a bullish position at this point, we bounced way too significantly off the lows for me to be comfortable making entries up here. So a patient bull has to say, all right, well, maybe I missed it, or maybe I misplayed it, or whatever the reason. I'm going to be waiting for a daily high or low for my next entry opportunity from a swing trade perspective. As far as bears, aggressive bears are scouting daily lower highs. Again, that's the most likely scenario from here, and they're just keeping an eye out for a loss of the 4-hour uptrends, or perhaps some top fishing plays that don't have a whole lot of risk associated with them, and watching to see if they can get a good entry for daily consolidation once these bounces have topped out. So that's where we stand. Again, for Bitcoin, it's all about daily inside bar trying to break bull. But keeping in mind, even with the bull break, we are scouting the daily lower high to be the most likely scenario as a result of this bounce. Don't forget to do good things. I appreciate you watching. Here's the goats I promised, and we'll see you soon.